So I finally figured out who this Colorado Buffaloes team is. And now I totally understand why I was so confused and why I was stuck and why everything was so weird for me. So hear me out for a second. The Colorado Buffaloes team is exactly what the Texas Longhorns were when they were 5-7 and 8-4. They are a combination of those two teams. And here is why. Colorado has an elite quarterback. Shedeur does some elite things. He's fantastic. And there's Travis Hunter. But the problem is whenever those things aren't clicking and whenever they're not good, it isn't good. And so if they're great and they're elite, they take their team up to be better and to be elite. But when they are not, or when Travis Hunter gets hurt, or when something happens and Shedeur starts running backwards and does all these things, it impacts the team. And so the things that you know about the team to be true are absolutely true, but our eyes are also telling us a story, and we have to start paying attention to what they're telling us. Because if you think about this Colorado team, we knew who the Colorado team was last year in the first 4 or 5 games. We just didn't want to believe that that was who Colorado was. And we thought they were going to continue to get better. However, they didn't, because that was who they were. And so what we are seeing and what we just watched was who Colorado really is. And quite frankly, it's who they've been all of these weeks. It's just when certain things happen, it's going to impact if they're going to win and lose games. And so I'm going to talk about a little bit about what I'm talking about on the other side of this. So the truth about this Colorado Buffaloes team is they are not going to be able to win games if they do not get 2 turnovers or more. And the reason being is because they are a really average football team. And I'm not saying this to be rude. I'm saying this because this is what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is they don't do things that make sense for good football teams. For example, in this game, they ran the ball 10 times. They had design runs 10 times. If you think in college football that you can win games against good teams running the ball 10 times, I have a house to sell you in Florida and I've never lived there, okay? Just send me all the money and don't ask me what my real name is. The problem is this. When you have Shedeur Sanders, and Shedeur Sanders is a great quarterback, but the problem with Shedeur is that he also doesn't trust, or I don't know if it's that he doesn't trust, or he doesn't want to run the ball, or they're not going to call run plays, or they're going to highlight Shedeur Sanders. That interception, Shedeur should have actually, there should have been some run plays in there. The thing that Kansas State was doing is, like I've been saying, they're eating the clock, they're eating the clock, they're eating the clock. So what happens is Colorado gets the ball back and they think they have to score quick and they think they have to do things fast. And what happens when you do that, because you're undisciplined and because you're unbalanced on offense, you rush. And when you rush, you make mistakes. And so what we saw today was a rushed Colorado offense. The other thing I'm going to say is that offensive line is not good. The offensive line is positively not good. They are average or maybe a little bit below average. You know what actually makes that offensive line worse though, is that Shedeur backs out of a clean pocket, spins around and does all of these extra things, and he's losing them even more yards. The more he retreats, the more he goes backwards. The other problem with that is there were a couple of times where I feel like Kansas State actually knew he was going to try to spin out of what he was doing, and they were actually waiting for him because they were waiting to make the sack. You want to know why? Because they've watched film and they've seen what he's been doing in these games, and they were ready to play defense against what they're seeing him do on film. And it's been what we've been seeing. It's just made it to where he was able to escape because, like I've been saying, the talent that they were playing was not the same talent that they have. And so when you go against a more talented, disciplined team, you're actually going to struggle. And that is what we saw today. We actually saw them struggling against a solid, balanced football team. Also, this team could not tackle. The Colorado Buffaloes couldn't tackle. And it is what I've been saying this entire offseason. You can be a better team than you were last year. You can be in the game because you were a better team than you were last year. But that doesn't mean that you're better than the competition that you're playing. Today, even when Colorado went up, it was like I don't know about you watching this video, but even as you're watching it, you kind of knew that you weren't secure in going up. You are wondering what is going to happen next. And why you had that gut feeling is because that defense is not good. That defense statistically is telling you it's good. This is why I do not look at stats all the time. I will look at stats to formulate an opinion and to see if the stats match my eye test. What has been happening lately are the stats for the Colorado Buffaloes are not matching the eye test. The stats are telling us one thing. The stats are telling us we're this. The stats are telling us we're that. The stats are telling us this. But when we're watching these games, these teams have been getting a lot of yards. They've been able to move the ball very well. But what's been happening is they've been turning the ball over. And so today, because Kansas State didn't turn the ball over, but the one time that almost cost them the game, but whenever you have that one turnover, that's not enough for this Colorado Buffaloes team to win. And that is the issue with this team. This team needs turnovers to win football games. The other thing that's absolutely terrible is they can't stop the run. They actually couldn't stop the run. I don't know if the Kansas State running back got hurt or what happened, but before he stopped coming out there, they could not tackle him. They would touch him, they would touch his leg, he would spin out of it. They actually cannot tackle. I hate to kind of harp on this, but I've been telling all of you, anybody that will listen to me, this defense is not as good as you think it is. This defense has been giving up a ton of yards. They've been giving up a ton of yards. But what they've been able to do is they've been able to give up a ton of yards, and then they've been able to get a turnover. And when you do that, you're able to mask how you really look and how you really play, because those turnovers neutralize what the other team did. But if you go back and you look at all the stats from Colorado and all the games that they've played, and then you see this game, you will realize that the team that you saw tonight, the team that lost tonight, is the same team that won at UCF. The difference, though, is UCF gave Colorado 4 turnovers. Think about what I'm saying here. Go back and look at that UCF game and look and see what was going on. They got turnovers. That is what changed the game. That is the issue here, is if Colorado cannot get turnovers, Colorado cannot win these football games. And that is why it's hard to determine if they're going to win or lose or whatever, because they have so many dependencies that will cause them to win, because the reality is they're not dominant anywhere. The only place you could say they're dominant is at the quarterback position and Travis Hunter and some of their receivers. But the problem is that when Shedeur runs backwards and takes sacks, when he gets pressured and he has all of these intentional grounding calls, when the offensive line isn't blocking for him, it makes the receivers obsolete because they are a dependent position. And that is what we're seeing. I know that some of you are not going to like anything I have to say, but what I'm talking about here is football. The thing that is happening with Colorado that makes us kind of think like this is a good team or what are we doing is the team is just very inconsistent. And the funny thing is, as I said at the beginning of this, they remind me of Texas when Texas was 5-7 and 8-4. They're a combination of those two teams. The reason why I'm saying that is I think Colorado's floor, I can't believe I'm going to say this, their floor is going to be 5-7 and their ceiling, I think, is going to be 8-4. I don't think they can win or lose any less games than that. I think that's going to be their sweet spot. And the reason why I think that is because they're extremely inconsistent and extremely streaky, and it's going to take another team they play to be very, 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 very bad for them to be able to win these games. And when I say very, 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 very bad, I just mean 4 turnovers, 3 turnovers. A team that turns the ball over 3 times, 4 times, that's not a very good football team. But like we said at the beginning of the season, any team that has a solid running game and can put pressure on Shedeur, Colorado is going to struggle with those teams. Another thing I want to mention here is I don't even want to get into that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say about Shiloh. The problem with Shiloh is that he doesn't tackle. He's trying for a big hit and he's trying to slow guys down. The problem with that is that people know that. They see that on film. They know you're not trying to really tackle them. You're just trying to hit them hard. That is not sustainable. Shiloh has to do better. He has to wrap up and he actually physically has to tackle. The sad part about this is they lost the time of possession. Kansas State had the ball for 34 minutes, almost 34 minutes. Think about what I'm saying here. When a team is running the ball down your throat, it's frustrating. It's hard to recover. It's hard to deal with it. There is a reason why teams that can line up and run the ball down your throat, they will run the ball down your throat. And that is exactly what Kansas State did. The issue with Colorado is, I'm not saying they're not going to win another game. But what I am saying is there are some deficiencies in how they play defense. There are some issues with them being able to stop the run. Just like last year, I'm not seeing a lot of gap integrity. I'm not seeing a lot of consistency when it comes to stopping the run. And as this season starts to move on, and as these running games start to pick up, because if you really follow a lot of football, you will know usually running backs really start to kind of get into their groove in the middle of the season, and they start to get better and better and better. And so Colorado is going to see some teams that have some great running games. And I don't know what that game plan is. I don't know how they're going to figure that out. But tonight, their defense failed them. And the truth is, I've been saying this, and everyone's like, Livingston's great, Livingston's good, Livingston's great. Have you seen the statistics? Have you seen the statistics? The statistics aren't telling you the true story. Trust your eyes. Trust what you're seeing. I promise you, you're seeing it. You are absolutely positively seeing what's happening. You just don't want to believe what you're seeing because you're a fan of the team, and I understand that. But trust what your eyes are telling you, because they're telling you everything you need to see right now. This defense has some work to do. Are they terrible? No. Are they better than last year? Yes. But being better than last year isn't good enough to win you some of these football games. So they have to continue to get better. They have to continue to grow. They have to continue to develop. And that is what I want to see, because the defense tonight failed this team. The defense is the reason why this team lost. The offense and all those things weren't great, but the defense is why this team lost. The last thing is, before I end this, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Travis Hunter getting hurt. The thing about Travis Hunter getting hurt, and I said this before, is nobody behind Travis Hunter can do what Travis Hunter does. And so when he goes down in that competitive depth that I've been telling you about, that everybody is trying to act like Colorado has, it doesn't exist. The drop off from Travis Hunter and the guy behind him is very vast. And that is going to be a problem if Travis Hunter doesn't get healthy. My hope is that Travis Hunter gets healthy. My hope is that next game he will be fine. But the problem is, I'm telling you now, and I've been telling you, and I know a lot of you don't think I know what I'm talking about, but I've been telling you, the issue with this team is the drop off from the depth perspective. That's the first thing. The second issue with this team is their inability to commit to running the football. They will not commit to run the football. It's not going to happen. So they're just going to throw their way out of this. And so Shedeur is going to spin around and run behind and do all the things to try to get yards, because in the back of his mind, he believes what his eyes are telling him when he goes to practice. He knows what he's seeing. He's seeing this team more than we're seeing this team. And if you watch what Shedeur Sanders is doing, Shedeur Sanders is telling you everything you need to know about this team, because they say Shedeur can change the play, Shedeur can do this, Shedeur can do that. If all of that is true, Shedeur Sanders is telling you that he doesn't trust this offensive line, he doesn't trust this run game, and he doesn't trust this defense, because if he trusted the defense, he would allow them to come out there and do their job, but he doesn't. He's telling you that. He is telling you that by the way that he is playing football. And I get that this is hard to hear, and I get that a lot of people don't want to hear this, but Colorado is showing us who they are. We just have to believe them. We actually have to believe this is who they are. I am by no means saying that Colorado is not going to win another game. That is not what I'm saying. I said that Colorado reminds me of the 5-7 Texas team and the 8-4 Texas team. They are a combination of those two teams. The 5-7 Texas team, it was Sark's first year at Texas. They were 5-7. They were extremely athletic, but it just didn't work. The 8-4 team lost some games they shouldn't have lost, won some games they shouldn't won, and it was just a hodgepodge. We weren't a good football team. We were pretty athletic, but we just didn't have it all put together. That is what I'm seeing with Colorado. They don't have it all put together. This isn't a knock on them. It's just where they're at right now. So my hope is that they will get some things figured out and they will get to rolling again. I will say my prediction before the season started was 7-5. And I think my 7-5 might be looking pretty good right now, because there are some teams that don't look that great. But the problem is, and I'll continue to harp on this, is if Colorado doesn't get turnovers, it doesn't matter who they play. Colorado has to win games by getting turnovers. That is going to be their key to success, in my opinion. Obviously, it's late. This is what I'm thinking. This is my late game reaction. I'm going to sleep on it. But I'm very interested to see how this season goes, because this is getting very, very interesting when you start to look at these Colorado games and you start to look at the numbers and you start to break down some things. So I will end this video here. I know this is like totally different from my normal videos. I normally like break it down and I'm like, here's the things I loved, here are the things I hated, and all these things. But when I look at this team, I realized why it was so hard for me to come up with what I wanted to say and what I was thinking and what I was doing. And as the season goes on, I feel like I now have them pegged. I know who they are based on watching the teams that they've played before, watching them play other teams now, and then watching Kansas State play a lot of games, and then watching the way Kansas State played them. I see who this team is. And I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. Let's just hope for 7-5. And let's just keep this thing rolling. But at the end of the day, I said this before, and I'm going to say it again before I get off of here. Trust what your eyes are telling you. Trust what you can see when you look at these games. If you look at the stats from previous games and you see how many yards Colorado has allowed, and you see how many yards Colorado has rushed for on how many attempts, when you go look at these things, it is telling you every single thing you need to know about Colorado. It is just up to you to pay attention and listen through your eyes, but listen and trust what you are seeing and trust the things that you're feeling. The things that you're feeling when these games are happening, that intuition that's telling you, yeah, we were winning, but I never thought we were going to win. That thing that's telling you, like, we look good, but not that good. I don't know what this is. I don't know. I'm not sure. Trust that. That's telling you something. There's a reason why you're feeling that. You have to trust it. You have to trust it. You have to trust it. But anyways, I will end this video here. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know how you were feeling watching this game. Let me know if you're seeing some of the things that I'm telling you, or let me know if you're just pissed off at me and you think I'm crazy as hell. That would be great too. But seriously, let me know what you think in the comments below if you want to.